Guys, welcome to match day as God intended it on a Saturday at 3 o'clock at Ibrox in front of our fantastic fans. Yes, guys, it is match day. Rangers take on Dundee today at Ibrox. Apologies if you can hear the sound of my dog chewing a bone in the background. He's decided that this is the perfect opportunity to start chewing a bone. I don't know why. He's just a bit crazy. Hey, guess what? We're all a bit crazy. Welcome along to Glasgow Rangers Nation. Thank you for choosing to watch another video. As always, I am your host, Owen David. Yes, I have an English accent. I do apologise. But I am a die-hard Rangers fan. Have been ever since 87, 88. Well, actually back even further, 86, I think it was. I don't know. It was back in the late 80s anyway. There we go. So we're going to talk a little bit about, obviously, the game tomorrow. Later on in this video, we're going to talk a little bit about the news today regarding some players. Also some rumours, and we're going to talk about silly season. Yes, we are heading towards it. It is silly season. It is the January transfer window is nearly upon us. Here sooner than we know it. It will be Christmas time for football clubs as they seek to strengthen their squads for a title push or for a relegation scrap or just to kind of look good by the end of the season. So where to start? Let's start with what Philippe Clement said today. Now, Philippe Clement delivered the first part of his press conference was very much talking about injured players. He was talking about the fact where he delivered that news that we shared with you earlier about Dundee being out. Also the news that as well, it wasn't just Dundee, but Ryan Jack was out still, Scott Wright was out, and Tom Lawrence would be out. And Lawrence and Dundee would be out until the winter break, which was obviously bad news. It's now looking like the earliest that Dundee could return to the Rangers squad would be February, which obviously is a huge blow for the club. You know, it will leave us very short of strikers. It leaves us with Kemar Roofe, Mr. Glass himself, who's always injured. And of course, Cyril couldn't hit a barn door with a banjo or whatever it is. Dessers, who is really struggling now. So it is a situation that needs to be addressed. And Philippe Clement obviously stated this, and then he talked a little bit also about the fact that he sees buying a striker as a priority. I think that's something we've all kind of said over the last few weeks, straight months, that we need someone who can put the ball in the back of the net on a regular basis, because at this moment in time, we don't have one now, considering that Michael Beale spent £3.5 million on Sam Lammers, £4.5 million on Cyril Dessers, £6 million on Danilo, and still had Kemar Roofe still had Kemar Roofe. It does kind of show how bad that summer transfer business was. So, what are we going to do? What are we going to do? So we are going to have to buy a striker in January, so it looks. Now, there's obviously lots of rumours about who that could be. Lawrence Shankland is a name that's been linked, and again, is a name that massively divides the fan base. There are those that think he would be a good buy and those that think that they don't want him anywhere near the club. So again, another name that divides the thing. Now, the situation is this. When it comes to buying a striker, and we all know it's hard because strikers cost a lot of money. Someone who can put the ball in the back of the net on a regular basis is going to cost you an arm and a leg. So like I said on yesterday's video, £6 million for Danilo actually isn't a great deal of money. £6 million for a striker these days is actually quite pocket change for a lot of EPL clubs. I know for Rangers, it's not. It's not. So we are in a position where we are going to have to buy a striker. We are going to have to, I think, spread the net far and wide. And Niels Koppen, who is our new director of football recruitment, is going to have a job on his hands to go around, scout, find, and hopefully bring in the next great thing who's going to score a lot of goals for us. Now, he's got a reputation, obviously, for bringing in good talent. Take Noah Lang, for example, at PSV Eindhoven, a player he scouted and brought in, a guy who scores multiple goals. I'm not saying we're going to get Noah Lang because that would cost probably 20-30 million, but a Lang type would be nice if he could find one. Now, it wasn't just obviously that news that kind of grabbed my attention today with Philippe Clement. It was the fact that the media repeatedly seemed to ask Clement about injured players. Now, Philippe Clement stated after he talked initially about those injuries to Tom Lawrence, to Scott Wright, to Ryan Jack, and of course to Danilo, which came, I think, completely out of left field and was a shock to a lot of Rangers fans. He then said that he wanted to only talk about fit players. However, the press seemed to continually try to bring up the topic of the injured players, something that Philippe Clement seemed to get a little bit angry at, and he seemed to state that he wanted only to talk about fit players, and then repeating that by saying, as I said 10 minutes ago, I want to only talk about fit players. So there was, I think, a little bit of frustration and anger with the media there at the line of questioning they were trying to push. Now, I can kind of see why the media wanted to talk about that, because obviously injuries is a massive issue at our club. And the fact that Tom just has obviously come back, he started to get into the first team reckoning, and then he goes off injured again. Kamar Roof, obviously, is another one. You know, Philippe Clement said today that Kamar Roof wasn't ready to start, wasn't ready to play 90 minutes, and to throw him in would be foolish, and that, you know, could lead to further injuries. So, you know, he's not going to start. Obviously, today it's probably going to be Cyril Dessers, God help us, especially with Zach Lovelace out injured. So, you know, it is a line of questioning that the media want to look at, because of the fact we have so many injuries, and we do have seen a reoccurring injury to a lot of players. But I also understand the manager's frustration. He, I think, wanted to move on. He wanted to focus on the game. He wanted to focus on the players that he had, but the media seemed to not want to leave it alone. But what I think is quite clear, Clement is very focused on what he wants to do, how he wants to talk to the media, what information he wants to give, and he will give no more. He doesn't have the verbal diarrhea that Michael Beale used to have. Now, quite a few people have asked me about a story that is in the media at this moment in time regarding former Rangers striker Alfredo Morelos. Obviously, Alfredo Morelos was with Santos, who were relegated and has now left. There is a lot of talk in the media, and I think it's amongst a lot of the websites rather than the newspapers at this moment in time, that state that Rangers are interested in bringing Alfie back until the end of the season, giving him effectively a 6-month contract. Now, I think personally this is some very, very lazy journalism. You know, it's really interesting. The topic of Alfie, again, is another one that massively divides the fan base. You know, I think obviously we all thank Alfie for his contribution whilst he was here. You know, top European goal scorer, some vital goals at vital times, etc., part of the 55 squad, you know, and so on and so forth. But there's obviously the downside of Alfie. Last year, he seemed to down tools. He looked unfit. He didn't look healthy. He didn't look good to go. So he never looked match fit. He repeated injuries. And obviously there's the downside of Alfie, whereas there's slightly dodgy disciplinary record. But personally, I honestly think that this is a bit of very, very sloppy journalism. Why do I think this is sloppy journalism? Well, Rangers need a striker. Alfie's out of contract. Of course, let's put 2 and 2 together and get 5. I genuinely think that Philippe Clement would not be interested in bringing Alfredo Morelos back to the club. For me, he's not a Clement type player. You know, with the ego that he's got, with the lack of fitness that he often suffers from, he certainly is not a Philippe Clement type player. Therefore, I really highly doubt that there is any legs in this story at all regarding Alfie returning to the club. So I think we need to put that one away, forget about it. And like I said, it is a story that has divided the fan base. It's been so noticeable today on social media. And again, I know social media is a horrible place to go sometimes, but there is a massive divide in this fan base over Alfie. Those that want him back would love to have him back, and those that do not want him anywhere near the club. Now, tomorrow is the start of a huge week for Rangers Football Club. Dundee tomorrow in the league. Again, another must-win game. A game where we can start to put some pressure on them. I mean, you look at the league table. Ignore the Dundee scores for a minute. We'll talk about those shortly. But you look at the league table. If we can win tomorrow, with Celtic not playing till Sunday against Kilmarnock on that horrible plastic pitch, you know, good luck, Kilmarnock. The lead comes down to 5 points, and for a change, it'd be them playing catch up rather than us. You know, with us obviously in the Europa League, it very much has been a case so far of us being the ones playing catch up. It'd be certainly interesting to see the effect, if any, a Rangers victory, and that's the key thing. If we get a victory, and I think we will, and we'll talk about that shortly. You know, what effect that would have on Celtic. Would that put the pressure on? Would they start to actually feel the pressure for a change? Something they haven't felt for a few seasons now, certainly not since 55. So it'd be really interesting tomorrow to see what you know, if we win, which I'm sure, well, today, sorry, if we win, which I'm sure we will, I'll talk about the results, my predictions, etc. shortly, but it'd be interesting to see if that victory would then put pressure on Celtic and what response we'd get from them. Very interesting indeed. Obviously, our opponents tomorrow are done today. I keep saying tomorrow. It's because I'm recording this on Friday night, guys, for Saturday morning. I do apologize. Our opponents are Dundee. Last 4 games. Now, weirdly, they've played 3 out of their last 4 games at home, beating Livy 1-0. But again, like I said, that's no great achievement. Look at where Livy are in the league, beating St Mirren 4-0. A St Mirren team that are so badly out of form at this moment in time, and they're getting beat by everyone. So again, it's nothing to feel particularly proud over. Like I said, they are a team that seem to lose a lot recently. They then suffered a 2-1 home defeat to Hibernian, who were down to 10 men, and drew in their last away game 3-3. In fact, their only away victory this season came against Bonnie Rig Rose way back in the League Cup group stages. So they haven't actually won away in the league. And the last time that I think it was over 23 years ago that Dundee last won at Ibrox. So it is definitely history is definitely against them. You go back to the first meeting this season, absolute demolition by Rangers of Dundee with 5 goals. Even Sam Lammer's getting on the score sheet. It does bode well for tomorrow, as long as obviously Rangers turn up. And what we want to see, and I keep reiterating this video after video after video, we want to see a 90-minute performance, Rangers. Come on, from whistle 1 to the end whistle, whenever that may be, after 95, 100, 110 minutes, however long we get played on in games. I want to see a 90-minute, 100-minute performance, a complete game performance where we actually play and put the ball in the back of the bloody net on a regular basis. Jeez, come on, Rangers. That's what we need to see today against Dundee. Now, my team, if I was picking the team, and again, like I always say on this, you might look at this and go, thank you're not picking the team, Aaron. So, Abdallah Seema up front. I start at the front and work our way back. I would start with Seema up front. Now, I know, Billy, I think that's highly unlikely, given what Clement said today, that, he hasn't had a chance to see it in training. He hasn't had a chance to try it. So, I don't think it'll happen. I think he will be on the left. And I think, unfortunately, Sibyl Dessers will be up front. But I'd like to see Seema given the opportunity. He's the best finisher at the club. He's the one that when he goes through on goal, you actually feel confident that he's going to put the ball in the back of the net. I'd put Matondo on the left, at least get, 50, 60 minutes out of him, and then obviously make some changes. Todd Cantwell has to play in the 10 role. He's the best 10 of the club, at this moment in time. Ross McCausland, I would start him again. He looked lively, again. I think this is a game where he can flourish at Ibrox against not a great Dundee team. 2 in front of the back 4, well, it has to be Lundstrom and Cifuentes because there really is absolutely nobody else with Lawrence out injured. So, at the end of the day, this is what we've got. This is how we need to line up, I think, with Jack out as well. And Cifuentes, for me, I think, honestly, looked a little bit better on Wednesday when he came on. He looked a bit more composed, used the ball well, got stuck in, chased back. Overall, Cifuentes did a reasonably good job when he came on. So, look, let's give him his chance tomorrow again. Back 4 for me, James Tavernier, Connor Goldson, Leon Balogun kind of pick themselves. Whatever you think of Tavernier and Goldson, they're not going to get dropped anytime soon, certainly not to the end of the season. So, look, they're going to be starting no matter what. Balogun, I thought, was fantastic again against Hearts on Wednesday night, including that barracking run forward that one of the Hearts players tried to swap jerseys with him before the game had even finished. And then at left back, I want to see Ridvan Yilmaz continue there. I think you've got to give Yilmaz minutes. You've got to give him a chance to impress, a chance to play. And for me, he did all right on Wednesday night. He was probably, and again, I know Dujon Sterling did well when he came on, but Sterling, can play left back, but he's not a natural left footer. It takes away, I think, gives you that natural difference in the way to play with the left foot, swinging the crosses in. So, and, defending on the left-hand side. So for me, Ridvan would start ahead of Barisic if he's fit, and also, ahead of Dujon Sterling. Jack Butland in goal picks himself. He is absolutely outstanding. It's a game where, like I've said, we need to go from minute 1, high press, get after them, get that early goal. And I think, honestly, if we get an early goal, it'll be a heads down job from Dundee because they'll think, oh, God, it's happening again. We're going to get hammered like before. And it'll start to enter their minds. And the moment you sort of weaken their psyche, it gives you a great opportunity to play and to be successful. So going back to that graphic I showed you earlier, on this massive week for Rangers. Obviously, Dundee, like I said, then it's Betis away in Seville. That'll bring back some memories for those of you travelling over there in what will be a very tough game. And then obviously the League Cup final on next Sunday against Aberdeen. 3 victories is what we need. 3 victories would see us, obviously progressing in the league through to the knockout stages of the Europa League as group winners. And obviously beating Aberdeen would see us get that first piece of silverware this season, hopefully of many more. Look, my worry is that we don't do anything in Betis, because in Seville against Real Betis, because they are a very good team. And also the fact that, if that's the case, that we don't do anything, we'll probably end up, in the Conference League, which, my feelings on that. And losing to Aberdeen in a cup final would just be unthinkable. So it's a huge week. Is it season defining? No, it's not season defining. There is still lots of games to go. It is still all to play for. So it's not season defining. I think it is career defining for a number of players, particularly the Betis and Aberdeen games. A lot of these Rangers players have kind of been seen to be, I don't know, go into hiding and play pathetic when we need to actually get a result, when the pressure is on. So I think, in that League Cup final on Sunday, in that Europa League game on Thursday, there is a need for some of these players to really act up, and these players to really play forward and be better than they have been at times this season and last season, when they seem to go into hiding in big games. Well, guys, today, obviously Dundee at home at Ibrox. I'm going for a 4-0 victory for Rangers. That's it, 4-0. I'm having confidence in a clean sheet. 4-0. First goal scorer is going to be Abdallah. Let me know what your predictions are in the comments down below. Once again, thank you so much for watching Glasgow Rangers Nation. As always, if you can do 2 jobs for me on the way out. Number 1, smash the like. And number 2, please always remember, we are the people.